Want to become an Australian citizen but struggling to pass the citizenship test? Don't worry, you are in the right place. This video will guide you through some of the questions asked to help you pass the Australian citizenship test with ease. So stick around, I've got you covered.
You better take cover. Oh.
Becoming an Australian citizen is a significant milestone for many people, and the citizenship test is an essential step in that journey. Passing this test demonstrates your commitment to Australia, our people, and way of life. It's a crucial part of integrating into Australian society, and it's definitely worth the effort. When it comes to preparing for the citizenship test, many people face similar challenges. One common misconception is that the test is all about memorising dates and historic events, but it's actually much more than that. The test assesses your knowledge of Australian history, culture and government, as well as your understanding of the rights and responsibilities that come with Australian citizenship. The Australian citizenship test covers a range of topics, including Australian history, culture and government. You'll need to familiarise yourself with significant events, people and cultural practices that have shaped Australia into the country that it is today. It's also crucial to understand the structure and functions of the Australian government, as well as the rights and responsibilities that actually come with being a citizen. So to help you out, here's 20 practice questions and some background information behind the answers to help you on your journey to becoming a true blue Aussie.
On ANZAC Day, what do we remember?
ANZAC Day is the most solemn day on the Australian calendar. It's a national day of commemoration in both Australia and New Zealand, and it honours the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. It is observed on April 25 each year, and it's a public holiday. It's a day that firstly commemorates the landing of the ANZAC troops at Gallipoli in Turkey way back in 1915, but has grown over the years to commemorate and thank all those that have served our country.
What are the colours of the Australian Aboriginal flag?
The Australian government officially recognises three main flags: the Australian National Flag, the Australian Aboriginal Flag, and the Torres Strait Islander flag. Now, the Aboriginal flag is a symbol of Aboriginal identity and their connection to the land. The flag was recognised as an official flag of Australia in 1995.
Which is correct under Australian law?
Now, I'm hoping that this one is fairly straightforward, but you never know. In Australia, women have the same rights as men. This is in all parts of life, in family, community, in education, and in relation to service in the political life of society.
When did the separate colonies join together to become the Australian nation?
On January 1st, 1901, Australia became a nation when 6 British colonies united to form the Commonwealth of Australia. This process was called Federation. The British Parliament passed the Constitution in July of 1900, with Queen Victoria approving it and giving it the royal assent. The Duke of York opened Australia's first Parliament in Melbourne on May 9th, 1901.
Who can deliver a welcome to country?
A welcome to country is a traditional ceremony performed by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander traditional owners to formally welcome visitors to their ancestral land, signifying respect for the original custodians of the land and granting permission to be present there. Now, it can involve speeches, singing, dancing, or smoking ceremonies, and is usually conducted by an elder or designated representative of the local Indigenous community.
What is Australia's capital city?
Did this one surprise you? Contrary to popular belief, Sydney is not the capital of Australia. Canberra became the capital of Australia in 1913 as a compromise between the cities of Sydney and Melbourne. The city was designed as a planned city, with the natural topography of the site in mind when building it. Canberra is situated in what is called the Australian Capital Territory, which is not a state. Now, Canberra gets a bad rap from many in Australia, but as someone that proudly called it home for 15 years, I think it's one of the best places to live in the whole country. Apart from the winters, that is.
Australians believe in free speech. This means
freedom of speech in Australia is protected by the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and state and territory human rights laws. However, the Australian Constitution does not explicitly protect freedom of expression. The Australian High Court has ruled that freedom of speech is fundamental to a functional government and society. So yes, you can pretty much say what you like about political parties.
In Australia, the government.
Australia is not a theocratic state and does not have an official religion. Our Constitution protects the freedom to practice religion. The High Court has ruled that all religions and religious groups have equal legal status. The Fair Work Act of 2009 prohibits employers from discriminating against employees based on religion.
By law, Australian citizens aged 18 and over must
Australia is one of only 27 other countries where voting is compulsory. Compulsory voting was first used in Australia at the 1915 Queensland state election. This increased voter turnout in Queensland encouraged changes at the federal level, and in 1924, the Parliament of Australia amended the Electoral Act to make voting compulsory at federal elections. Those that do not vote will receive a $20 fine.
Which of the following is true?
You can get an Australian passport only if you are an Australian citizen. Citizens do not need visas to enter Australia. You may be eligible for citizenship by descent if one or both of your parents were Australian citizens when you were born. However, children born in Australia with a birth certificate issued in Australia are not automatically Australian citizens or Australian permanent residents.
In Australian elections, what must you do?
On election day, you go to a polling booth, which in many cases is at a school. You walk in past a bevy of political signs and people handing out how to vote cards for their respective parties, line up, get your name marked off on a register, are handed ballot papers, and then you go to a private booth and you mark your votes. You then fold the ballot papers and place them into a box, which is guarded by someone from the Australian Electoral Commission. You do not write your name on the paper, and the process is totally anonymous. There are strict laws around the conduct at a polling booth, and representatives, otherwise known as scrutineers, are present to ensure that no funny business takes place.
The Australian Constitution is a legal document that
The Australian Constitution is the fundamental law of Australia, establishing the country's government structure and the rights of citizens. It came into effect on January 1st, 1901. The Constitution defines Australia as a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary system. The Constitution protects the rights of Australian citizens, including freedom of religion, the right to vote, and the right to a fair price if the government takes your property. The original copy of the Constitution is located in the National Archives of Australia in Canberra. It's definitely worth a visit to check out some of the amazing history of our country.
In Australia, a referendum is a vote to change.
So the only way to change the Australian Constitution is by holding a referendum. And this means that the Constitution cannot be altered without the approval of the people. Since Federation, there have been 45 proposals for constitutional change put to Australian electors, and of that, only 8 of them have actually gone through. The last referendum was held in 2023. Purpose was to alter the Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. In the end, it received only 39% of votes in favour.
In Australia, the Parliament.
Making and changing federal laws, representing the people of Australia. No, it's certainly not controlled by judges, and it's also not chosen by the Prime Minister.
The Governor-General represents.
The Governor-General is the King's representative. They have a range of constitutional and ceremonial duties. The Governor-General is also the Commander-in-Chief of the Australian Defence Force. The Governor-General has specific constitutional and statutory powers, including the ability to dissolve Parliament and issue writs for a federal election. By the way, under the Australian Constitution, the only action performed by the King is the appointment of the Governor-General.
Freedom of speech.
Whilst having the right to freedom of speech, that doesn't mean that you do not have to obey the law. It's a right that underpins Australia's democratic system, but there are some limitations as well. Restrictions could include filtering access to certain websites, classifying artistic material, or urging violence. The Australian federal government has also passed new hate speech laws to tackle terror and inciting violence.
Why is it important for people living in Australia to learn English?
English serves as a unifying force in Australia, facilitating communication and understanding among diverse communities. It's the primary language used in government, media, education, and daily interactions. While Australia doesn't have an official language, learning English is encouraged for immigrants and new citizens to facilitate integration into Australian society and access essential services.
In Australia, the use of violence against a person is
committing an act of violence against another person is illegal in Australia and a criminal offence. Criminal offences may result in penalties such as fines or jail time and could affect your ability to stay in Australia. Regardless of religion, opinion or ethnicity, it is never acceptable.
In Australia, we believe in mutual respect and tolerance. This means you can
Mutual respect is a cornerstone of Australian values and a key element in fostering a harmonious and inclusive society. It's deeply embedded in the Australian ethos, emphasising the importance of treating all individuals with dignity, fairness and consideration, regardless of their background, beliefs or circumstances.
In Australia, volunteering is important because
volunteering is crucial in Australia because it strengthens communities, supports vital services, boosts individual well-being, and contributes significantly to the nation's social and economic fabric. It plays a vital role in areas like education, emergency services, arts and heritage, and social services, enriching the lives of individuals and fostering a sense of shared responsibility. There's no law that says you have to do it, and no, you do not get paid. So how'd you go? Did you get them all right like me? One of the most important things to remember is that studying for the test isn't just about passing. It's about gaining a deeper understanding of Australia and its culture. By taking the time to learn about the country's history, government and values, you'll be better equipped to make a positive contribution to Australian society as a new citizen. If you're taking the Australian Citizenship test or have already passed it, I would love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. What strategies worked for you? Let's help each other out. What challenges did you face and how did you overcome them? Thanks for joining me on this trip from down under to down south. Hooroo, mateys.